Welcome back everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. I'm really glad you've joined me, because what we're about to talk about might completely change the way you look at the smallest coin in your pocket. Most people barely notice a 1-cent coin. It's something we drop into jars, leave in drawers, or even ignore on the ground. But today, we're exploring an incredible story that proves even the most ordinary object can hold an extraordinary secret. We're diving deep into the Liberty 1-cent coin from 1962, a simple-looking penny that, under extremely rare circumstances, has been associated with values reaching as high as $556.5 million, an almost impossible leap from its humble face value of just 1 cent. This story is about history, minting errors, rare mistakes, mint mark possibilities, collector obsession, and the fascinating reasons why a single penny can become one of the most talked about coins in American numismatic imagination. The 1962 Liberty 1-cent coin belongs to the long-running Lincoln cent series, which has been part of American daily life since 1909. By 1962, the Lincoln penny was already deeply familiar to everyone in the United States. It carried the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a symbol of unity, freedom, and perseverance, and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, representing national heritage and respect for history. These pennies were everywhere. They passed through countless hands every day, used in stores, saved by children, and collected in massive quantities. No one at the time imagined that a penny from this year could ever be connected to values that rival the world's most expensive artworks or rare gems. In 1962, the United States Mint was producing pennies in enormous numbers. Facilities such as Philadelphia and Denver worked relentlessly to meet the demand for small change in a growing economy. The composition of the penny at that time was primarily copper, giving the coin its rich reddish-brown color and distinct weight. This copper content alone makes older pennies appealing to collectors today, but copper value by itself does not explain anything close to a multi-million-dollar valuation. The real story begins when we look at how coins are made and how things can occasionally go wrong in ways that create legendary rarities. The minting process, while highly advanced, is still a mechanical system. Metal blanks are cut, heated, cleaned, and then struck by powerful presses using engraved dies. Each step is designed for precision, but when millions or billions of coins are produced, even a tiny error rate can result in unusual coins slipping through. Most of these errors are small and barely noticeable, but some are dramatic, and those are the ones that capture the attention of serious collectors. The 1962 Liberty 1 cent is especially interesting because it sits in a period when the mint was under pressure to produce high volumes quickly, increasing the chances of mistakes. One of the most important contributors to extreme value in pennies is the presence of rare minting errors. These errors transform an ordinary coin into something unique or nearly unique. For the 1962 penny, one of the most legendary possibilities is a wrong planchet error. This occurs when a penny is struck on a blank intended for a different coin or even a different metal. Imagine a 1962 1-cent coin struck on a planchet meant for a dime, a foreign coin, or an experimental metal alloy. Such a coin would immediately stand out due to its unusual weight, thickness, and appearance. Wrong planchet errors are among the most sought after in the entire numismatic world because they represent a significant failure in the minting process. Another extraordinary possibility is a transitional metal error. Although the major change from copper to copper-plated zinc did not occur until the early 1980s, there were times when experimental alloys were tested or leftover materials were present in minting facilities. A 1962 penny struck on an experimental or unauthorized metal composition would be an astonishing discovery. If such a coin were authenticated and proven to be unique or one of only a handful known, its value would be driven not just by rarity, but by historical significance. Collectors would see it as a missing piece of the story of U.S. coinage. Double die errors are another major factor in creating high-value pennies. A double die occurs when the die used to strike coins receives multiple misaligned impressions during its creation. This results in coins with doubled lettering, numbers, or design elements. On a 1962 penny, strong doubling on the date, the word Liberty, or Lincoln's profile would immediately draw attention. True double-die pennies are highly prized, especially when the doubling is bold and easily visible without magnification. Some double-die pennies from other years have sold for enormous sums, and a dramatic, previously unknown double die from 1962 could instantly become legendary. Off-center strikes are another type of error that can greatly increase a coin's value. These occur when the planchet is not properly aligned with the dies during striking. The resulting coin may show part of the design missing, with a blank area visible along the edge. While small off-center errors are relatively common, extreme off-center strikes that still show the full date and mint mark are far rarer. A 1962 penny with a dramatic off-center strike, especially in exceptional condition, would be highly desirable to collectors. Die cracks, die breaks, and cuds also add to the story. As dies wear out or become damaged, they can produce coins with raised lines, blobs, or missing design elements. A large cut on a 1962 penny, where part of the die broke off entirely, creates a visually striking and rare error. These coins tell a story of a die that continued to be used even after serious damage, and collectors value them for both their rarity and their visual appeal. Mint mark errors are another fascinating aspect of the 1962 Liberty 1 cent. In 1962, pennies were produced with and without mint marks, depending on the facility. Philadelphia pennies typically carried no mint mark, while Denver pennies featured AD. Errors involving mint marks can include repunched mint marks, misplaced mint marks, or mint marks that appear unusually shaped. Although mint mark errors are more commonly associated with earlier decades, unusual examples from the early 1960s are still highly collectible. A truly unique or extreme mint mark error on a 1962 penny could significantly boost its value. Condition plays a massive role in determining how far a coin's value can go. Most 1962 pennies were heavily circulated, showing wear, scratches, and discoloration. However, a small number were preserved in pristine condition, either by collectors or by chance. A coin that combines a major error with near-perfect preservation is extraordinarily rare. Professional grading services use strict standards to evaluate coins, and a top-grade example with a dramatic error becomes a centerpiece of elite collections. This combination of rarity and condition is essential in explaining how valuations can reach unbelievable levels. The idea of a $556.5 million valuation represents the extreme upper edge of possibility in the coin collecting world. At this level, value is driven not just by rarity, but by uniqueness. A coin that is truly one of a kind, especially if it represents a previously unknown error or anomaly, enters a different category entirely. Collectors at this level are often competing not just for ownership, but for legacy. Owning the only known example of a remarkable 1962 penny would be like owning a piece of American history that no one else can claim. Collector psychology plays a huge role in these valuations. Rare coin collecting is not just about metal and design, it's about emotion, competition, and storytelling. When collectors believe they are bidding on something that may never appear on the market again, rational limits can disappear. Auctions can turn into intense battles where prices climb far beyond expectations. A unique 1962 Liberty 1 cent with a dramatic error and impeccable documentation could ignite such a bidding war. Provenance and documentation are also crucial. A coin with a well-recorded history, expert analysis, and recognition in numismatic literature carries far more weight than an undocumented piece. If a particular 1962 penny were discovered, studied, and confirmed by leading experts, its reputation alone could drive its value to extraordinary heights. Collectors trust stories backed by evidence, and the stronger the documentation, the stronger the demand. Authentication is absolutely essential when discussing values of this magnitude. The coin market is vulnerable to counterfeits and altered coins, especially when high prices are involved. Professional grading and authentication services use advanced technology to analyze metal composition, strike characteristics, and die markers. A coin associated with a valuation of hundreds of millions of dollars would need the highest level of verification to be taken seriously by the collecting community. The cultural significance of the Lincoln penny also adds to its appeal. Abraham Lincoln is one of the most revered figures in American history. Coins bearing his image are not just currency, they are symbols of national identity. When such a familiar symbol appears on a coin with an extraordinary story, it resonates deeply with collectors and the public alike. The contrast between the penny's everyday use and its potential extreme value makes the story even more compelling. Stories of valuable pennies have captivated people for generations. Tales of rare cents found in pocket change or inherited collections inspire curiosity and hope. The 1962 Liberty 1 cent fits perfectly into this tradition. It reminds us that extra. My dears, if you have ever held a small copper-colored penny in your hand and thought it could never be worth more than a single cent, then today's story may completely change the way you see everyday coins forever. What we are about to explore is the fascinating journey of an ordinary-looking coin that hides extraordinary potential. Now, we are talking about the Liberty 1 cent coin from 1978, a humble penny that most people have spent without a second thought, yet under very rare and specific circumstances has been associated with values reaching as high as $614,000. That is an almost unimaginable difference from its face value, and it all comes down to errors, mistakes, mint mark anomalies, and rare possibilities that turn a simple cent into a numismatic legend. The 1978 Liberty 1 cent coin belongs to the long-running Lincoln cent series, which began in 1909 and has become one of the most iconic coin designs in American history. By 1978, the Lincoln cent had already been part of everyday American life for nearly 70 years. It was a coin people used daily, often ignored, dropped into jars, lost under couch cushions, or handed over as spare change. The idea that such a common object could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars seems almost impossible, and yet history has proven again and again that rarity does not always come from age alone. Sometimes, rarity comes from mistakes. In 1978, the United States Mint produced pennies at multiple facilities, primarily Philadelphia and Denver. Coins from Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark, while those from Denver were marked with a small d beneath the date. Millions upon millions of pennies were struck that year, intended purely for circulation. They were made primarily of copper, with a composition of about 95% copper and 5% zinc, a standard that had been in place for decades. At first glance, a 1978 penny looks no different from many others produced before or after it. This familiarity is exactly what makes the rare versions so fascinating. They blend in perfectly until someone looks closer. The journey from blank metal to finished coin is far more complex than most people realize. Each penny begins as a planchet, a small metal disc cut from sheets of metal. These planchets are fed into high-speed presses, where engraved dies strike them with enormous pressure, transferring the design onto both sides of the coin. This process happens incredibly fast, and while the mint maintains strict quality control, no system is completely immune to error. When something goes wrong during this process, the result can be a coin that is unlike any other. One of the most important reasons why certain 1978 Liberty 1 cent coins can reach such astonishing values is the presence of major minting errors. These errors are not scratches or damage caused after the coin entered circulation. They are mistakes that happened during the actual creation of the coin at the mint. Collectors place a premium on these errors because they represent genuine anomalies in the minting process, frozen moments where perfection briefly failed. One of the most dramatic and valuable error types involves the wrong planchet. This happens when a penny is struck on a blank intended for a different coin. For a 1978 cent, this could mean being struck on a planchet meant for a dime, a nickel, or even a foreign coin. A penny struck on a dime planchet would be smaller, thinner, and lighter than normal, while still showing the Lincoln design. A penny struck on a planchet meant for a larger denomination might be oversized or unusually thick. These errors are extremely rare, especially when the coin is well preserved. When authenticated, such a coin can command an enormous premium, sometimes reaching six-figure territory. Another highly prized error that could push the value of a 1978 cent toward the extraordinary is the off-metal composition error. During the late 1970s, the mint was already considering changes to coin compositions due to rising metal costs. This period of experimentation and transition increases the possibility, however slim, of coins being struck on improperly mixed alloys or leftover materials. A 1978 penny with an unusual color, weight, or metallic response could indicate an off-metal error. These coins often require specialized testing to confirm their composition, but once verified, they can become some of the most valuable examples known. Off-center strikes are another category of errors that collectors find especially appealing. An off-center strike occurs when the planchet is not properly aligned between the dies during striking. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing, sometimes leaving a blank area along one side. While small off-center errors are relatively common and modestly collectible, extreme off-center strikes that still show the full date and mint mark are much rarer. A 1978 penny with a dramatic off-center strike, especially one that remains in excellent condition, can be worth far more than most people would ever imagine. Double strikes add another layer of intrigue. A double-struck coin is created when the planchet is struck more than once by the dies. If the planchet shifts or rotates between strikes, the resulting coin can display overlapping images, duplicated lettering, or distorted features. These coins can look almost artistic, with ghostly outlines and unusual shapes. For collectors, the more dramatic and clear the double strike, the more desirable the coin becomes. A 1978 Liberty cent with a bold double strike, especially if it is well centered and well preserved, could be a centerpiece in any collection. Closely related, but even more coveted, are double die errors. These occur during the creation of the die itself, rather than during the striking of individual coins. If a die receives multiple impressions that are slightly misaligned, every coin struck from that die will show the same doubling. True double die cents from 1978 are rare, especially those with strong, visible doubling on the date, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait. When such doubling is clear and dramatic, collectors take immediate notice. These coins are considered true mint errors and can be worth significant sums, particularly in high grades. Die cracks, die breaks, and cuds also play an important role in determining value. A die crack appears as a raised line on the coin, caused by a crack in the die. While small die cracks are common and usually add little value, large and dramatic cracks are far more desirable. A cut occurs when a piece of the die breaks off entirely, leaving a raised, shapeless area on the coin where the design is missing. Retained cuds, where the broken piece of the die remains partially attached, are especially fascinating to collectors. These errors tell a story of a die that continued to strike coins even after significant damage, and such coins can be extremely valuable when rare. Mint mark errors are another critical factor in the potential value of a 1978 Liberty 1-cent coin struck at the Denver Mint. Carry a D mint mark, and errors involving this mark can add significant value. A repunched mint mark, where the mint mark was punched more than once in slightly different positions, can create a doubled or shadowed appearance. While repunched mint marks are more common in earlier decades, they still hold interest for collectors when found on later coins. A misplaced mint mark, where the D appears in an unusual location, is even more intriguing and far rarer. There is also the possibility of missing mint marks. While Philadelphia coins were not supposed to have a mint mark, a Denver coin missing its D due to a filled or polished die can create confusion and interest among collectors. If such a coin can be clearly identified as a Denver issue through other characteristics, its missing mint mark becomes a noteworthy error. In rare cases, combinations of mint mark anomalies and other errors can elevate a coin into the highest levels of value. Condition is one of the most important factors in explaining how a 1978 cent could be valued at hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most pennies from that year were heavily circulated, resulting in wear, scratches, and discoloration. However, a very small number were preserved in near-perfect or flawless condition. These coins may have been saved in rolls, sets, or collections, protected from the damage of everyday use. When a major error coin is also in exceptional condition, its value can multiply dramatically. Professional grading services play a crucial role in establishing and confirming these values. A coin believed to be worth an extraordinary amount must be authenticated and graded by a respected authority. These services examine the coin under magnification, analyze its composition, and verify that any errors are genuine mint errors rather than damage or alterations. A certified coin carries far more credibility in the marketplace and gives collectors confidence when bidding large sums. Collector demand is another powerful force that drives prices upward. Coin collecting is not just about metal and numbers, it is about passion, competition, and the desire to own something truly unique. When a rare 1978 Liberty cent with a dramatic error appears on the market, it can attract attention from collectors around the world. If more than one collector wants the same coin, bidding wars can erupt, pushing prices far beyond initial expectations. This competitive environment is often what leads to record-breaking valuations. The historical context of the 1978 penny also adds to its appeal. The late 1970s were a time of economic change in the United States, marked by inflation, rising metal costs, and shifts in manufacturing practices. Coins from this era reflect those challenges and transitions. When a coin from such a period also carries a rare error, it becomes a tangible P.